This departure from ECOWAS is well thought out, Mr. President.
Of course, very well thought out.
It's not a crash, it's not a burst of anger.
If it was an outburst, we would have done it a long time ago. I think this organization was born in 75, if I'm not mistaken. It's 1975 indeed, with heads of state, mostly from the military. In any case, as far as the AES is concerned, they were all military. I think it was a desire to integrate people, the development of the economy, solidarity, mutual aid. Overall, the Pan-Africanist virtues which led the heads of state to therefore create this organization. Unfortunately, over time, the organization has lost its values.
Today, January 30th, 2024, we want to ask a question since this is the news. 3 states, Mr. President. What happened? Why decide to leave ECOWAS?
Thanks. As you say, this is a topical issue. It happened last Sunday. This withdrawal decision, therefore, of these 3 countries grouped within AES. It's not cheerful than turning your back on an organization. But it is at the end of a deep analysis, and I think this organization was born in 75. If I'm not mistaken. It's 1975 indeed, with heads of state, mostly from the military. In any case, as far as the AES is concerned, they were all military.
Absolutely.
I think it was a desire to integrate people, to make the development of the economy, solidarity, mutual aid. Overall, the Pan-Africanist virtues which led the heads of state to therefore create this organization. Unfortunately, over time, the organization has lost its values. And today, the observation is clear. I think that for over a decade, the sister republics of Mali and Niger are at war against terrorism. And in Burkina, almost a decade, we are at war. This organization, which was supposed therefore to create mutual aid and solidarity, we have never received any help from this organization. No soldiers, no logistics, no compassion.
But Mr. President, we want to say that we understand that recently, relationships were particularly difficult. With what happened, the coups that took place in these different states, that you have just mentioned, Mali, Niger and Burkina. You want to leave and people say to themselves, isn't this a reaction to the fact that they do not accept that you have allowed a coup d'etat? When you leave and you say, okay, since they do not accept, we leave.
Coup d'etat. We don't do it because we want it. It is this way of seeing things that we must change. You agree with me that having these states in crisis, to carry out a coup d'etat and assume one's responsibilities, it is very heavy. But if we do it, it's because we have a desire to take our people, therefore towards a certain sovereignty, because we know the origin of this crisis. And I think we should be accompanied. The cities have so many millions of displaced people in these regions. What are you doing to help them? Nothing.
Do you have the feeling that it's the military who are more likely to resolve these problems than politicians, civilians? Is that your feeling?
Anyone could do it.
But how can we explain that these are the soldiers who take control and say we no longer want civilians?
No, the military did not say that we no longer want civilians. It is out of a duty of patriotism when the nation is in danger. At some point, important decisions had to be made. If it turns out that it is the soldiers who had the courage to make this decision, well, that's what is there. Anyway, civilians or soldiers, we are all the children of this country, and whoever is therefore animated by this feeling of being able to liberate his country, one can do it. So, it's not a question of the military. Elsewhere, the military has succeeded. Here too, the military can succeed well.
What do we do with the free movement of people, of your populations who are in these countries of ECOWAS that you are leaving overnight? How exactly is it going to happen? Because the texts say, it takes at least a year to be able to implement all of them. Now you're saying no, it's over now.
Yes. First of all, you say the text says, but they themselves have never respected their text. It's done at the customer's discretion. This is what we noticed. The sanctions imposed on Niger do not exist anywhere in the text. So, the first to violate this exclusion is the so-called Democrats. We are leaving, but we remain Pan-African. Anyone in Africa, an African who wants to come to Burkina, he is welcome at home.
But on the contrary, it will be complicated. Someone who is within the AES, we are going to talk about the AES in a moment. Someone who is within the AES, we can tell him he that can no longer go to Ivory Coast, he can no longer go to Ghana. It becomes a little more complicated for those who do their business there.
We will see and decide what measures to take in due course.
That's flexing it well. This departure from ECOWAS is well thought out, Mr. President.
Of course, very well thought out.
It's not a crash, it's not a burst of anger.
If it was an outburst, we would have done it a long time ago. I think we had time to analyze the situation, to weigh many things and finally decide. So, if it was a crush, from the first moment of certain sanctions, the people have been quite resilient, it must be said. They suffered. So, during this time, we could decide in anger. Now, we have taken the time to observe, to analyze the situation and to convince ourselves of our strengths before deciding.
And you took everyone by surprise. Another element in this, we are going to say this. This new way of drawing West Africa with the alliance of Sahel states. Mr. President, is this viable? On paper, it's very attractive, but is it viable?
You know very well that it is more than viable. You know, for a long time, they held our people in a certain philosophy, always tending to make us believe that we can do nothing without others. Today, our mission is to raise awareness. You do it very well indeed.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it. We need to be able to raise awareness so that young people realize what is in their home. For such an organization, you must first realize its strengths and its weaknesses. And at the end of this analysis, you decide. The AES is very viable. What it
when
does.
we look at the economy, Mr. President, if I may, these are economies that are very integrated. You produce the same thing, you do the exact same thing. Who will sell to whom? How will it trade? And what are we doing? Because these are not countries that have at least one opening to the sea.
Numbers are one thing, the economy too. You know, we are here a very short time ago. But the economy was pulled a little torn by past regimes. Otherwise, we should have very strong economies today. That is what I am saying. By analyzing our strengths, we realize that we should not have been at this stage. We must have been much further away.
So there you have it, guys. Our African leaders try to do their best, in their speeches and try to make speeches that actually to show, their efforts in trying to help manage the challenges which Africa is actually facing through and has been facing through since the colonial times. And so we here to really listen to these speeches and to share our thoughts in the comments. And so whatever it is you guys think about these speeches, please do share your thoughts in the comments.
Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe, because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.